Don't mind my son who is stomping all over me while I'm trying to read this to you. She figured out that it wasn't just, my dungeon. Yeah, keep your eyes posted for that. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. Today we're just going to be doing a really casual reading vlog style video. I'm just in my pajamas today and I'm going to fill you in on the books that I'm reading, and maybe you'll get a cat cameo if Mochi decides to. Currently he's rolling around over there. I'm currently reading Bat Eater by Kylie Lee Baker. I'm listening to it as an audiobook, and so far I'm about 85%, 87% in, which is crazy because I'm like right before the end. I don't know why I just don't finish it. I'm letting it steep a little, you know, it's a horror novel, so I kind of want to let it brew. I'm really looking forward to finishing that one. So far it's really, really good. It is very gross. I find that when I'm watching something like in a game or in a movie or anything like that that's violent, I have a really hard time with it because I'm watching the gore. But when it's in a book or in an audiobook, I don't have as much of a hard time with it. So I think my threshold for horror is a lot higher than I think it is. But so our main character, Corazang, this isn't a spoiler because it happens in the very first chapter, but she watches her sister die in front of her. After the whole thing and she witnessed death and she saw the horror of it and she had the gruesome imagery of it, she decides to become a crime scene cleaner, which is sure a choice. So she starts working as a crime scene cleaner, and she has two co-workers who she gets to know and befriends them. But these crime scenes that they're cleaning up start to be a little suspicious when there's some patterns. All of the crime scenes that they've been cleaning up have been Asian women who have been murdered brutally. And every scene where an Asian woman had been killed, there is a bat planted at the scene in some way. And so then you get to see this serial killer case start to unfold, and the suspense of that mixed with the unsolved mystery of her sister's murder because they never found the person who committed it. So those two central mysteries are really interesting. The crime scene depictions are pretty gross. I will say, like, look up the content warnings for this. There's some scenes that happen later on, though, that I was like, oh yeah, pretty gross. That's been really, really solid so far. Like I said, I'm almost done with it, so I'll give you, an update when I'm done with it, and you'll see it in my monthly wrap-ups as well for June. So the next book that I'm working on, I started last night. It is All Boys Aren't Blue by George Matthew Johnson. And I have the dust jacket for this. It's just got stickers on it. I gotta remove the gunk from the stickers, but I'm also scared I'm gonna damage the dust jacket. So far I'm about 35% into it, and it's really good. It's a nonfiction, it's a memoir. It's written about George's life from childhood all the way up till present day, so in their 30s, and it is very good. It's a vulnerable view at blackness, his queerness, and the way that those identities have always had so much intersectionality in George's life, the ways that he was able to express or suppress those throughout his life, and what he learned about himself. I know this is going to get to be a little bit tougher of a read because of some things that happen in his late adolescence. So far it's very poignant, and it's got a lot of really heavy-hitting quotes. I've been annotating it, you can't see that, alternating pink and blue because of the cover being pink and blue, but also, tapping into the way that he was struggling with locking down his identity, I guess, and that's something that he's going to be continually exploring. Also, I really hope I'm not using the wrong pronouns for George because he hasn't specified his pronouns yet. So if I'm using the wrong pronouns, I will put a note somewhere on the screen because I don't want to be leaving that uncorrected. This is my first experience reading a memoir, and so far I'm really hooked. It's just a very vulnerable look into their lived experience in their own voice. It's really powerful, and maybe I will read more memoirs after this. So for the next order of business, now that we've covered current reads, I have a tiny, minuscule book haul to show you. And then I also have a book unhaul for you, so I will go grab those now. Okay, so I've got 3 books to haul, these 3. Mochi's gonna help with the book haul. Anyway, I've got Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. This is the first one. What do you think? Okay, so I'll read the back to you. Demeter just wants to do her job, shuttling humans between Earth and Alpha Centauri. Unfortunately, her passengers keep dying, and not from equipment failures, as her AI medical system, Steward, would have her believe. These are paranormal murders, and they begin when one nasty, ancient vampire decided to board Demeter and kill all her humans. To keep from getting decommissioned, Demeter must join forces with her own team of monsters, a werewolf, an engineer built from the dead, a pharaoh with otherworldly powers, a vampire with a grudge, a fleet of cheerful spider drones. Together, this motley crew will face down the ultimate evil, Dracula. Don't mind my son who is stomping all over me while I'm trying to read this to you. Anyway, this one just sounded really, really fun. I think that the concept sounds so quirky, I couldn't get over the cover too. It's just so beautiful. The crew of the different creatures that are on this ship sound hysterical, and I cannot wait to read this someday in like 20,000 years because I can't wait to read everything. The next book for the haul is this graphic novel. This is French and I'm gonna fucking butcher it, but it's Les Normaux. So it's by Janine Jansen. So this is volume 1 of a graphic novel series. I've never seen any other volumes of this except the first one. So I have no idea if the other ones are even out. When did this come out? So this was a webtoon, I believe, and that came out in 2022, but this was published in the UK in 2025. So there may not be other volumes out yet of the physical novel. The art style in this is just so cute. This is literally the first page. Let me read the back to you. Sebastian recently moved to supernatural Paris, hoping to get away from his troubles at home and live a peaceful life learning magic. But what are you going to do when the really hot vampire you made out with last night to forget your troubles turns out to be your new neighbor? Sebastian, a demisexual boy with main character hair and a bunny named Pierre. Meet Elia, a hot supermodel, vampire neighbor, and crush. Join Elia, Sebastian, and their assorted crew of wonderful friends as they navigate the ins and outs of dating in a modern and paranormal love story. I just thought the art was really cute, and it sounds really cute, and it's blurbed by Alice Oseman, who wrote Heartstopper, so that's a win. So the last book for the haul is The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. This edition has these really pretty purple sprayed edges, and the shop had signed copies. So I have a signed copy of this. I've been wanting to read this for a while, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to handle it because I've heard that it has quite a bit of medical gore. Like I said, I'm trying to push my boundaries, so I'm really hoping that this will be good for me. Plus it's YA, so I feel like it can't be too bad. So let me read the back to you. London, 1883. The veil between the living and the dead has thinned. Violet-eyed mediums commune with spirits under the watchful eye of the Royal Speaker Society. And 16-year-old Silas Bell would rather rip out his violet eyes than become an obedient speaker wife. According to Mother, he'll be married by the end of the year. It doesn't matter that he's needed a decade of tutors to hide his autism, that he practices surgery on slaughtered pigs, that he is a boy, not the girl the world insists on seeing. After a failed attempt to escape an arranged marriage, Silas is diagnosed with veil sickness, a mysterious disease sending violet-eyed women into madness, and shipped away to Braxton's finishing school and sanatorium. The facility is cold, the instructor is merciless, and the students either bloom into eligible wives or disappear. When the ghosts of missing students start begging Silas for help, he decides to reach into Braxton's innards and expose its guts to the world, if the school doesn't break him first. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this one, and I've heard such great things about Andrew Joseph White and all of their books. I own this one and Hell Followed With Us now, so I gotta read them eventually. So that was the book haul. This is the book unhaul. I need to speed run this because I need to go get ready very soon to go out. So this is a speed unhaul. A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. I've had this on my TBR for a really long time, and I was going to read it soon, but then I heard that it has a lot of bigotry and fat phobia in it, and it seems like it's not really addressed by the characters in the book, and I just don't really know if I want to read a protagonist who is that awful. Foul Days by Genoveva Domova. I hope I said that right. I read this one and I thought it was fine. It was like a 3.5 stars or something like that, but I have no interest in continuing the series, so I just don't really think I want to hold on to it. This next one kind of hurts, but Immortal by Su Lin Tan. I was so looking forward to reading this, and I've loved the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology from her, and I've got this beautiful fairy loot edition of it, and I was so looking forward to this, but I started reading it. It just wasn't it. Something about the writing just felt so formulaic, and the main character was honestly really unlikable right from the get-go, and I feel really bad that I didn't enjoy it. So I DNF'd this one. This one and all of the special editions that I have left in the pile are listed on my Mercari, so I'm hoping that these will go to a lovely, caring home who will treat them very well. Next I have Watermoon by Samantha Soto Yambao. This is the Illumicrate edition, and it, again, is stunning. I have these beautiful editions of these books. And this one I did read all the way to the end, but I was very disappointed in it. It wasn't really what I expected it to be. It had these wonderful Studio Ghibli vibes in the beginning, but it started to get very repetitive, and the insta-love was really not it for me. Next I have a duology. I have Silver Under Nightfall and Court of Wanderers by Rin Chupeco, and I read the first one. I was really looking forward to this book, and for a lot of the book I was enjoying it, but it started to just unravel pretty quickly after the throuple gets together, because this is a polyam relationship. Once they got together, it just felt like the rest of the story wasn't really that consequential. I was just so underwhelmed by the ending that I chose not to continue on with the sequel. I've got these beautiful Illumicrate editions of this, and again, I hope that somebody who loves this series will find these on my Mercari and that they'll go to a good home. So that was the speedy unhaul, the little micro haul, and then my current reading updates. So next time I see you, hopefully I'll be done with Bat Eater, because I plan to listen to it on the drive today. And then I want to get more progress in All Boys Aren't Blue. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye. I'm coming to you from the future when I am filming the outro for this vlog, but I never introduced the TBR cauldron to you. To the 2 or 3 of you who are watching this, I'd like to introduce you to the cauldron. Inside are lots of slips of paper with different color coding on them, and I've attached this handy dandy guide for what the color coding means. So green is a physical novel that I own, orange is that I plan to read it as an ebook, and purple is that it's a graphic novel, which I know is a physical, it exists tangibly on this plane. It's to differentiate it from a regular novel. Inside of this cauldron is every book on my TBR, including the physical and the digital, obviously. There is a number of slips in here. I don't have the number with me right now because it's probably changed since I filmed this. I'll put the number above it. Every time I add something into my TBR, I will put it into this cauldron with the color coding. For example, here's the purple, orange, and green. I chose those because they are very fun, spooky Halloween colors, naturally. And this has a spiderweb pattern on it, in case you couldn't tell. So how the cauldron is going to work is whenever I want to read something but I don't have a specific book that I want to pick up or I'm in a certain mood, I will pick 5 slips from the cauldron. Out of those 5 slips, I will then have my cat choose the actual winning book. How that usually will look is I throw the 5 slips on the floor and whoever is the nearest will pounce on it, and then that's the one I'm going to read. And again, because I'm from the future, I know that you're going to be seeing that clip next. So you're going to get to see which book gets picked and how that process is going to go. I thought the cauldron would be a fun way to introduce some spontaneity and more fun into choosing a book. Especially if I'm feeling kind of indifferent and I'm not going to go for something specific, I can just make it random, and that makes it more fun. Plus I get to involve my gremlin children, so it's a win-win. Okay, so now you'll say hi, cauldron, and the cauldron says hi back to you, and I've introduced you, so now you know each other. Now I'm going to hand it off to my past self, who's going to do the cauldron pick. See ya. So I have a couple customers nearby who can help me with this, but I'm going to pick the first 5. I'm going to let one of them pick the slip from the 5, and then I'll show you, and then I get to veto if I don't want to read that. Matcha, come here. Pick. Oh, she picked. Thrown in the dark.
All this out of body stuff going on. This is on accident. This author, how old is Chuck Wendig? I can't wait to tell you how old Chuck Wendig is. He's not even a millennial.
Alright, so it's a couple days later, and I'm sitting in a dungeon queue in World of Warcraft right now, which will probably take 15 minutes because I'm a DPS. but I figured I would give you some updates on Bat Eater, and by updates I mean I'm done. I finished the book. I finished the audiobook yesterday in the car when I was doing some driving around, and I didn't realize after the last update that I gave you that I was going to hit some major revelations in the last little bit of the book. I can't really say a whole lot without giving away like massive spoilers because the ending had some major hard-hitting moments in it, but I will put a spoiler frame on the screen somewhere so that if people don't want spoilers you can just skip ahead, but if you want to know what happened at the ending, I can kind of give you a little rundown of that. So if you remember me talking about how there was the serial killer that was killing Asian women, and Cora and Harvey and Yifei were looking into the murders and trying to figure out who did it, and they had access to some police files because of a flash drive that they found at a crime scene, and so they were trying to get into the flash drive. Well, by the end of the book, Cora got into the flash drive. She found out that it wasn't just one serial killer, but it was actually a series of copycat killers, and all of them were killing Asian women and posting on these snuff forums about their kills and posting photos about it in really gory, gruesome detail, and bragging about how they had killed these women and saying, like, how'd I do? Or it's open season, or just the most disgusting things. She found all the crime scene photos, and there were hundreds of photos of women who had been killed. And based on the evidence in the police reports, she figured out that it wasn't just, my dungeon. Okay, I finished my dungeon. I don't remember where the fuck I left off. I think I left off talking about she had discovered, the copycat killers. There was at least 10 of them, and then there was one that was called the Yellow Death, and how they were posting on these snuff forums with all of the photos of their kills, Anyway, so she found all that and basically went into a rage, and I'm not going to explain like the logistics of it because you kind of have to suspend disbelief a little bit, because she gets her hands on some propane tanks. She goes to the mayor's house, which, by the way, this is the mayor of NYC, obviously not like real world NYC, but so she goes to the mayor's house with these propane tanks and lights the fucking house on fire. And the mayor dies in this fire. By the way, I didn't explain this, but the officer who had this flash drive, he was murdered as well by one of these copycat killers, probably because he was getting close to them. So she takes the evidence and brings it to the police, and then there's this huge scandal in the news and in the newspapers, the media, and they're talking about the mayor and how he covered it all up and his death, and how the mayor wasn't doing anything to prevent all the Asian hate crime in the city, and was brushing it under the rug, paying off the cops to not look into it because he wanted to win the election, That was the way that the book ended, basically, was wrapping up all of that. And I think, obviously, like I said, you gotta suspend disbelief a little bit, because, like, how realistic is it that someone can just, go to the mayor's house of New York City and just burn down the house? But she was working with the ghosts and stuff, so, I mean, suspend disbelief, it's fiction. I really love this one, though. I'm gonna share, like, my final thoughts and my rating in the reading wrap-up for June, so keep your eyes posted for that. Yeah, keep your eyes posted for that. Anyway, I think what I'm gonna do now is do some reading while I wait for more dungeon queues, because the queues are quite long. So I think if I wanted to just start a book and treat it like a reading sprint, kind of, where I can do a little bit of reading for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or however long the queue is, and then do a dungeon, read, do a dungeon, read, something like that. Because we've got bonus EXP for WoW right now because of Mists of Pandaria coming out in July. So I think now is a good time to grind out some dungeons, and I'm trying to power level my my druid, so see ya. It's a little bit later. I don't have the best update, but I DNF'd Thrown in the Dark. I didn't get that far in. I only got maybe 5 to 10% into the book. The writing style was just not meshing with me very well, and it was so info dumpy. I was just not really feeling into it. I think that it was just too dense and too info dumpy right in the beginning of the book, and I just wasn't feeling interested at all, to be honest. I don't really find that I'm interested in the premise of it. I know it's a romantasy, but I don't really enjoy romantasy, and I know it's a parody romantasy, which I did enjoy the humor parts. Like, there were some quotes that I showed you that were pretty funny, but it just wasn't enough, I don't think, to get me feeling like I wanted to keep reading in any way. And normally I don't DNF a book this early, but I just had no interest in it. I also saw a lot of the reviews complaining that the book was way too long. It's like 450 something pages. And I know that that's not that long of a book for a fantasy or anything like that, but I think that with the way that it was written being really overly wordy and just long run-on sentences and just very dense, I didn't think I was going to enjoy 450 pages of that. So I DNF'd. A bit sad to DNF this early, but I just don't want to be wasting time on books that I don't really find myself hooked by. I'd rather pick up like All Boys Aren't Blue and read more of that, or start a different book. The tough thing with the Cauldron is that I'm really more of a mood reader, and so I find that if I know in advance what I'm going to be reading, I might not necessarily be in the mood for it. I kind of want to just see how I'm feeling at the moment of like wanting to pick up a new book, whatever I'm in the mood for at that time, and then grab that. But sometimes I don't have much of a preference in terms of what I want to read, so I think the Cauldron pick would be good for moments like that where I'm just like, I want to read something. It doesn't really matter what it is necessarily, like from what I own, you know. Anyway, DNF there, but that's okay. Tonight I'm going to be volunteering at an animal shelter. I volunteer like every couple weeks. It'll be fun, and I'll take some videos of the cats for you because we've got some real cuties. But yeah, so maybe I'll read some of All Boys Aren't Blue next time and pick another Cauldron read and try to see if the next pick is more up my alley. Anyway, see ya. Jimmy, what are you doing? couple days later now, and I've got some reading updates for you, and then we're gonna outro the vlog. Since last time I talked to you, I finished All Boys Aren't Blue, and I read a manga volume, which I didn't really plan on doing in this vlog, but I was just in the mood to read a little bit of manga the other day. So first, let's get into the All Boys Aren't Blue update. I was able to clean the dust jacket, so there's no more sticker on the side, and the sticker that was on the back as well is gone. So now you can see in all its glory. I finished this one last night, and I annotated it a little bit more since the last time I showed you. It was really good, and like I said, I've never read a memoir before, so I didn't really know what to expect going into it and how it was going to be written and how the story was going to flow, but I ended up really enjoying it, and it was a lot quicker to get through than I thought, but I remembered that this was supposed to be kind of targeted for young adult. I would say like older teen would probably be able to read this, and it's very easy to read. You're going to hear more about this in the June reading wrap-up, but I'm not rating this one because I think that when it comes to memoir or nonfiction, it feels weird to be rating someone else's lived experience or the way that they're writing about their life or their feelings or anything like that. So it feels weird to rate it. I'm not going to rate it. I think this is a good read for anybody who wants to know more about the intersectionality of Blackness and queerness and the way that it affects so many aspects of your life growing up, and also the way that your environment and your atmosphere when you're growing up can play such a role on the expression of your identity, and the way that you have to suppress or modify yourself to fit into spaces where you feel you don't belong or to make yourself more palatable to people, having to tone back certain parts of yourself that are too much or too flamboyant or too effeminate or anything like that. I have no idea if I finished that thought coherently at all, but anyway. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to talk more about it in the June reading wrap-up, but that's done. And next I read Persona 5 Mementos Mission Volume 1. This is a little 3-volume like sub-adventure within the Persona 5 universe. I've never read the manga for Persona 5. I think it's 10 volumes, but I've played the game. And I've played Persona 5 Royal, Persona 5 Strikers. I'm a big Persona fan. I'd been gifted this, and I've been hanging on to it for a while. It's just been sitting on my shelf. I don't really read a lot of manga, so I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get around to this. But I finally was in the mood yesterday, and I got into it, and I read it in one sitting just because it was really fast, but also there were no page numbers. I don't know if that's normally a thing with manga. But I was like, if there's no page numbers, I can't, like, update my tracker with how far I'm into it, so I'm just going to finish it in one sitting, I guess. It took me a little bit to figure out where this fits into the storyline of Persona 5. I had to actually look it up because I wasn't sure. It takes place during the events of Persona 5 around October because they do mention Halloween. It kind of brings in this new subplot around this CEO. I believe he's a CEO of like some sort of an idol company or modeling company in Japan. One of the side characters, Ann Takamaki, she's a model, and at the set of this shoot that they were doing, the main character was there, and Ann was there, and at the shoot, the CEO is poisoned and begins like having spasms and is taken away, and I believe he doesn't actually die. I don't really remember, which is crazy because I just read this yesterday, but I think he survived. But it was attempted poisoning, and they suspect that maybe one of the models at the scene did the poisoning. That attempted poisoning is being investigated throughout this volume, but there's also some other little micro subplots going on throughout this as well, involving some of the other side characters. I would say if you haven't read Persona 5, the manga, or played the game, you definitely can't get into this one. All the characters have their own bios when they're introduced, so it is a nice refresher if you haven't played the game in a while and you don't really remember who everybody is, especially some of the side characters that aren't part of the like main cast. Since there's only 2 more volumes of this, I'm definitely going to pick it up. It was a really quick read, and it's nice to be back in the Persona universe, even in just a manga. Again, for my rating, you'll have to watch my June reading wrap-up. This cup of tea is cold now, but I'm going to hold it anyway because I need emotional support. Thanks for watching, hanging out with me, gaming with me, reading with me, and if you enjoyed this, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I hope to see you in the next one.